Your journey coming to the United States, was this a dream as a kid when you were fighting in the amateurs in Ireland and traveling the world? Is this where you ultimately had your biggest dreams lie, was in the United States?
Yeah, it was always the place I wanted to fight. Growing up, all I used to watch was the top fighters fighting in Vegas, America, New York. There's a lot of Irish in New York, so that's where all the big fights were. And ever since I was young, I always wanted to be pro. I didn't really want to stay amateur too long. I turned when I was 18, but when I was 18, that's when I decided to move over to America for good. So I've been picking up all the experience from the best fighters in the world, and I'm starting to really show it now in the ring.
How much did sparring Americans and just sparring in America change your style? Like, I noticed you kept the lead hand down, and that's something American fighters do more, I think, than Commonwealth fighters. They tend to keep the hands up, and I mean, there's guys who put the hands down like Eubank or Josh Kelly, but yeah, how much did that affect your style?
I'd say a good bit, because over here to settle down, it's a slower pace. To sit down their punches, you can see they try and knock you out a lot of times throughout the round, so you have to be switched on. But with different sparring partners, I use different styles myself. That's one of my styles you've seen today, but I like to be a lot more aggressive sometimes. Sometimes I like to use my boxing, but that's why you don't really see the Irish or UK doing too well when the Mexicans or Americans come over, because they're not used to that style.
What would you say is more the Irish style?
It depends how long you stay at amateur, because they all use that Eastern European style that they picked up in the high performance, like in and out, bouncing on the toes, a lot of punches. But I think in the pros, it'll only work for so long. You have to kind of adjust a bit.
Was Andy Lee a guy that gave you some inspiration? He became a champion at middleweight.
Yeah, he was a great fighter, and I've met him a few times now, sparred with a couple of his fighters and that, but he's a very good man and a nice fella too.
You sparred, was this after he'd already retired and he gave you sparring for some experience? Or he was still active?
My brother, sparred with one of his fighters, so I met him a few times, but he was a very good fighter that came from that Kronk style, a brilliant style that a lot of fighters came from, and it's a style that I think pro boxing needs today.
Do you think it's missing a little bit?
Yes.
In what way?
Boxing, I think, is missing some of that 80s, 90s, where it's a lot of punches, a lot of good styles. They were relentless in there. The Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Duran, Hearns, the four kings. I think that style needs to come back for the best fights to happen.
I think a lot of people feel that way, like fans, not just fighters, but I think, it was part of it too. The bad intentions they would punch with too. And,
you can see anytime any of them fighters were in the ring, they left it all in the line and they didn't care, what was coming at them. They just focused on what they could do.
Is that the kind of fighter you feel you're developing into?
Well, I try and mix it up. I have a lot of styles. Like I said, it all depends who you have in front of you, but I'd like to try and bring some of that style out, in fights where it's really exciting, and especially in the middleweight division. The middleweight division, since Triple G and Canelo haven't been there, is
wide open.
It's wide open. It's a dying breed, so I'd like to be that guy to come through now.
You ever cross paths with Janibek here at the Top Rank Gym?
No, I haven't seen him at the Top Rank Gym, but I see on social media he's calling out, crying for fights, and him and Carlos Adames are back and forth on Twitter for a while now, and none of them have any intentions of fighting each other. They just want to fight once or twice a year, but I'd take any of them guys on in the morning. Janibek, I'd fight him anywhere. Carlos Adames, I'd fight him anywhere. Or Lara, he's nowhere to be seen. He just pops his head out once every 18 months. So they need gone, I think, so I want to be the one to take over.
This is supposed to be one of the most important divisions in boxing.
Yeah.
It's kind of dead,
Like the likes of Marvin Hagler, years ago, one of the best middleweight of all time, I think. That's what it's missing now. It's not the same as what it once was, so I'm going to make sure all that changes.
Has Katie Taylor kind of inspired you?
Yeah, she's what a person she is. She's Ireland's greatest ever athlete so far, so great fight there last week, and I've actually sparred with her when I was younger, before the Olympics, so I got to do a lot of work with her. I'm really good friends with her, and a really nice person, so she inspires every Irish athlete, not just boxer.
She is a really nice person, but an animal in the ring when it's time to be. Is that something you've learned from her, or taken from her, or
Yeah.
implement for yourself too?
Yeah, she's a really nice person outside the ring, and once that bell goes, she's well switched on. She's a beast. She's the greatest woman boxer of all time, I think.
Why are you more the Katie Taylor type Irish, and not as much Conor McGregor, Mick Conlan type? No disrespect to Mick Conlan or Conor, but they're more brash. You know, they sell the fight by talking, and then yourself and Katie Taylor are a little bit more humble in that approach. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, once you can do it in the ring, I think that's all that matters. But it'll come a stage now where if people aren't fighting, you have to do something. So the likes of Janibek, Adamus, Lara, they're all talking on Twitter, especially Janibek, and they're doing nothing to back it up. I think it's all pretend. But it'll come to that stage where I have to do something just to get that fight, because I think I'll become world champion sooner rather than later.
What about Hamza Sheeraz? What do you think of him?
Yeah, another fight that I'd love as well. I'd take that fight next. I just want the biggest fights in boxing, and I think he's there to be beat. The last few fights he had are all people that would suit his style. He's never came up against anyone as tall as me or as strong as me to really lay it into him, and I think he'd fold coming up against a style like me. So that's another big fight that I'd like.